accounting. Here we are. We're looking at process costs, and I want to make sure you can get this correct. It's a very key part of cost accounting or of managerial accounting if you're going to be working in a manufacturing area, or even if you're going to invest in a manufacturing area. It's good to kind of have an idea of how they calculate the production flow. So let's start. And I've given you numbers to shoot for. There's 7,800 here, 7,800 for direct materials, and 7,520 for conversion costs. What we're doing is we're looking at what was started, what was completed, and what is left in process. So the problem tells us that we started 7,800. We had no beginning inventory, so we have to account for 7,800 units. Now we're units, we're not talking costs yet, we're just talking units. So they completed 6,400 units. So that would mean, before we go any further, 6,400 units had full cost of direct materials and full cost of conversion costs. Now, how many are in the ending work in process? Well, if we started 78, we had 64 transfer out, that would mean 1,400. Of those 1,400, if you read the information up here, they were only, where the heck is that? We're only 80% of the way through. See that right there. So that means all of their direct materials in that, because it's pretty hard to start something without using all the direct material to begin with. So that they tell you that all of their direct material is there. But of the conversion costs, only 80% is complete. So if you multiply 80 times 1,400, you come up with 1,120. So now we've accounted for costs, we've accounted for those in process and those transferred out. Now we have to do what they call an equivalent units. An equivalent unit says, okay, material-wise and conversion costs, I've got to split that up. So material-wise, 7,800 units were completed, theoretically. Conversion costs, though, it was only 7,520 completed because we've got this 1,400 still in process. So if I want to compare or calculate my per unit cost, I have to take into consideration those conversion costs. So now that takes care of part one. This is a very important part. If you get these two numbers incorrect, the rest of the equations will not work for you. And that's why I give you these numbers, so I make sure you're correct with that. So now let's transfer those numbers down to the next part. They want us to know, or they want us to calculate, the cost per unit as we go along. And we find that by, if we come back up here, we have direct materials 9360 and direct labor 3662 and manufacturing overhead 4610. That comes down into direct materials of at the beginning 0, but we added 9360 in direct materials, and in conversion cost we add the direct labor and the what was the other manufacturing overhead together, and that comes up to 8272. Now we take those equivalent units and divide it into there to come up with our per unit cost for each of those areas. So now if I divide 7,800 into 96, 93.60, I get 120, and then 75.20 into 82.72, I get 110. So direct materials, each unit cost 120. Each unit cost 110 in conversion cost. And that's when you come down, and now you're going to finish out this calculations, all the calculations. So we transfer it out 600 or 6,400 units. Now I could multiply that, each one of them, times 1.20 to come up with the no, let's do that the right way. And then, since they're totally complete, I'm going to multiply that times both of those added together, of the unit costs added together. I can do that because there's no split. And I come up with 14,720. Now that's for the completed parts. The work in process is a little bit different, right? Direct materials, I have 1,400 times the 120. That gets it. But in the other case, I have 1,120 for the conversion cost. And see, that's why you have to split this. And if I multiply those out, I'm going to come up with these amounts. And those will add to 2912. So if I add 2912 and 14,720, I come up with total cost to be accounted for of 17,032. Now that's how all of these problems work. You figure out the equivalent unit. You come down and add your direct and conversion costs, divide that by the equivalent units, and come up with per equivalent unit cost. Then you drop down again using that same division of 6,400 transferred out, and this is the in process, and you'll come up with total cost to be accounted for. Now I want you to take this idea, this whole process, and use it to complete Seaworthy. Also redo Paulson's Winery. So I hope this helps. Please message me with any questions that you have. Thank you.